Hello everybody, welcome to this instruction video. This video is part of the series to knit your own pair of toe-up socks, and in this video I'll show you how to do the cast on. So this first video is all about doing the cast on for a pair of toe-up socks. For the cast on, we're going to use a technique that's called Judy's Magic Cast On, and that's been designed by a lady called Judy Becker. And here's the yarn tail of a solid colored sock yarn. I'm just going to pop it over my fingers, and the yarn tail end is over the over my index finger, and the end that goes to the balls over my thumb. And I'm just going to pull this a little further along, then I have a nice yarn tail to work away later. So the yarn tail end is over my index finger. I'm going to keep this here a little tight because here I want to scoop up stitches. Then my interchangeable needles attached to a cable. I'm going to just keep them apart, so try to keep your finger slightly between the needles because that makes it just a little bit easier to scoop up stitches. Because what we're going to do, bring the needles over the yarn, so you've got one on the top and one on the bottom of the yarn. Then bring your needle forward and scoop up a stitch on that top needle. And that's the first stitch already on your needle. So use again. So over the yarn, one at the top of the yarn, one at the bottom of the yarn, and bring it forward, and then you sorry, I just slipped off. Bring it forward and scoop up a stitch and bring it back to the center. Now you're ready for the second stitch, and for this you're going to twist it up and come from the outside. So you're going to scoop up that top loop from the outside, bring it to the inside of the needles. Now you've got a second stitch on, and this is your first pair of stitches. You always want to keep it to a pair, so always have an even number. So that's 2 stitches on. Now bring it down and scoop a third stitch. And still I'm trying to just keep these needles a little bit apart, but you'll notice that this becomes harder as you have more stitches on, because you'll see that they kind of tend to pull tight a bit. Then come up and scoop another stitch. So that's 3. Oh sorry, this was 4. And then come down and just make sure that your needles stay together so they don't slip, that your stitches don't slip off. So now I've got, and I need one more for a pair. So now I've got 3 sets, I've got 3 pairs on there. Then come down again. That's 4. And this is 5, and you see how if you get the hang of this, so this is down and then up. So how many have I got now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pairs already on. I want 10 pairs because that's the number of stitches I need for my socks. So again, 1, 2, 3, and the last one 4. So now I've got 10 pairs of stitches on my needle. Before we start knitting, this last stitch here is actually very loose. You see that this last loop there, if I just let that go, that's going to drop off the needle. So I'm just going to hold on to it and just give these a twist, and that's just to get that last stitch there a little bit secured. Now rotate your needles the other way, because you've got them pointing left at this point. Rotate them. Now you have them pointing right. And now we're ready to start knitting. And it's important at this point that you see which end is your yarn tail, that you don't use that thread, that you use the other one, because you won't be the first person to start with the wrong yarn tail. So now you've got them pointing to the right. Pull out the bottom needle. Now we're going to knit every stitch on the top needle. And this first one is maybe the most important one, because like I say, you've got this yarn tail here that you just want to keep a hold on. So yeah, now I've just split the yarn a little bit. So this first one is perhaps the most tricky. There we go. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, this is 8, 9, and 10. So I've knit 10 stitches on the one needle. Then I'm going to turn my work back to the right, so not flipping it in any way, just turning it from left to right. Pull that top needle, which it's now the top needle, just pull it back into, there you go, into your stitches, and then pull out the bottom needle. And now again going to knit all 10 stitches on the top needle. And if you can't see your stitches, just if you pull them apart a little bit like that, you'll see them all sitting there. And again, this first stitch is perhaps the most tricky one, so make sure you really stick into that stitch properly. Pick up yarn, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and this is the last one, 10. Then again rotate back and pull that top needle, just pull it back. There you go. And then this here, this teeny tiny little bit of fabric, if I just open it up you can actually see the fabric. This here is the very tip of the toe, these stitches. And from here on we can continue and actually knit the rest of the sock. But this part here, this was the cast on for your sock.